Hello, goddesses. Welcome back. I'm Desiree, your host, and I am so pleased and honored to be here. Thank you so much for joining along in this journey as we gear up for winter solstice, which there's these 3 days around winter solstice that are the most powerful throughout the entire wheel of the year for manifestation. So I would even love to know what your manifestations are. What are your dream seeds that you're planting, everybody? And let us know over in the Magical Badass Babes Facebook group. You can find that in the emails we've been sending you and down below as well, where to join in the conversation there. And as you can see, I have an incredible goddess with me today who's going to share so much juicy wisdom with you. She's coming all the way from New Zealand, and she's the creatress of the Soul Alignment Sanctuary. She's a transformational life guide and so much more. She's an artist, she's a creative, she's a light worker, and you're going to hear a little bit about her journey to, as I like to say, come out of the broom closet and start making a bigger difference with her spiritual gifts. Welcoming Nicola Robinson. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to see you and be able to have a conversation with you around all of these expansive and incredible topics. So yeah, thank you.
Great to have you. And I know in New Zealand, of course, you're in the Southern Hemisphere. So tell us about what's happening seasonally with nature and the spirit of the land there right now.
Yeah, the spirit of the land is in celebration. It really is that coming to life, of all of the incredible shoots that you can see coming out of the ground and everything is blossoming and blooming. All of the nurturing that has been done of the seedlings and the speaking to the plants to encourage them to grow, and even the indoor plants as well, are all shooting away. So, yeah, just that beautiful new growth, and the land gets to dry out. It can be very wet here, so you get to spend more time actually walking on the earth in bare feet, and it feels nice rather than feeling like you go out on ground and it's all squishy and sludgy and you're not sure about it.
And now you're coming from being a florist as well. And you actually have led in one of my containers a beautiful flower crown masterclass. And it was such a fun session. And I really feel you put your heart and soul into your creations, whether they're related to flowers or transformation. What drew you to being a florist originally?
Yeah, so being a florist came about because of COVID, and I worked as a makeup artist for years. And during COVID, I didn't want to go back to makeup artistry and just being all up in someone's face and, dealing with samples and testers and, all of that. And so a family friend had a florist and had space for a creative. And so, yeah, I started working there. But the idea was sparked many years before. I used to make, and I still make, headpieces, so lace crowns, and we talked about the flower crowns, so that came through from making giant feather mohawks and all sorts of creative things. And someone said to me one day, we were talking about all of the headpieces, and she's like, I think you'd be really good as a florist. And I was like, oh, I never really thought of that. And then that just, was just like a passing comment, and I forgot about it for years and years and years. And then when Mum said, "Oh, Cheryl wants you to work at the florist if you want to work there," and I was like, remembered when that person said to me that, and so that just kind of was like, all kind of fell into place, and just a really organic way of flowing through. So I didn't search it out; it found me. Yeah.
That's amazing. And when did you start getting into these kind of mystical arts? What has been your journey with that? Is that something you did as a younger person, as a teenager, or did you come into it later in life?
Yeah, I was always fascinated from a young age with like dream catchers, and the dream space was probably like the initiation into the unseen and the unconscious worlds. And crystals were fascinating as a little girl, and so I did collect them. And then, as you graduate through, the different cycles that we go through and you become a young adult and you start socializing with, more people outside of, your schoolhood, childhood realm, and meeting more people that were into witchcraft and Wicca and different aspects of spirituality. And so, yeah, just finding the crystal bookshop that was in the center of town, and that was like a pilgrimage every weekend was to go there. It had a massive amethyst geode in the corner, and so you always went and oohed and ahed over it. And then they had beautiful books, and so it was really just like a where do you start, but just gravitating to a book and talking to the person that owned the shop and going from there with what suited the best. So
Is there any parts of Wicca that weave into your work now?
I think that elemental wisdom more so than anything, using the elements and the cardinal directions to call in
Mm.
um, when doing circle or doing my own ceremony, setting that up particularly, and then really connecting with the earth and all of the spirit of the land and the spirit of everything. I was talking to my plants this morning, telling them how beautiful they looked and all of their new shoots and everything, and I learned the other day that your plants, and it's probably true from the plants, around your home if you have, plants and trees on your land, but they were talking about house plants, is that they tested them with electrodes and tested them, you're talking to your plant, and then you leave the house and you go quite far away. And then when you come back to the house, they start to sense you 2 kilometers away or more than that. Yeah. They know you're coming home
That's so
that
cool.
far away. And so I start talking to my plants even more now.
While we're driving home in the car and be like, all
I'm
right.
coming home.
That actually makes sense, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
we know that trees obviously communicate out in the wilderness too through their root system and the
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, through the yeah,
fungi.
yeah.
That's so
Mm.
cool. I love that. And I love thinking about how we, breathe, bringing that in intentionally to breathe from our even our house plants and then to exhale and to give them back what they need, right? So there's this constant reciprocity that runs through our life because I find with women, I don't know if you find this with your clients, but I feel that often we're blocked from receiving. Have you
Yeah.
ever experienced that yourself or with your clients where you're helping people to open up to receiving more?
Yeah, totally. I've gone through a few initiations along the lines of receiving, especially monetary receiving. And yeah, I would set an affirmation a couple of years ago that I always have enough. And then it was a couple of months later or 6 months later, and then it just twigged to me that I always have only just enough, like I'd pay a bill and then and I'd only just have enough. And then I was like, oh, I did that affirmation and oh, okay. And you could see the timeline and like, okay, I got to change it, cultivate it, figure out the wording, make sure it feels aligned and speak it into existence. I always have more than enough. I always have more than enough. And now I always have more than enough, but it's only just a little bit more than enough. So it's like these levels of cultivation. And so I also at the moment have multiple streams of income coming in. So I work for myself. I work at a metaphysical store where I'm going to be offering card readings as well. I work as a gardener. I work as creative creator at a film, TV prop studio. So I do a lot of different things. And I was affirming probably, yeah, 6 months ago that I have multiple streams of income and I get paid daily and this money just keeps coming in, coming in, coming in. And then when I started working for myself, it started getting stressful because yes, it was coming in every day, but it was going out every day. So it's like building up, get your surplus and money management, all the things that we've got to get better at doing. And I was like, wait, this is what I wanted. It can work for me. And so last night yesterday, again, I was affirming, I love it that I have these multiple streams of income. I love it. It works for me. These multiple streams of income, are compounding so that I have a surplus. It's not just multiple streams that only last a few days and I have to keep all the way through life. And yeah, so I filmed that driving home yesterday and then forgot about it, which is the key to manifesting is forget about it, set it and forget it. And so, yeah, last night I was on my computer and just typing away and looking up interesting things and just going about my normal evening. And I got a message from an old friend pop up who I hadn't seen in a long time. And he was like, "Hey Nick, how you going? Da, da, da. Love seeing all your travels." I'm like, "Oh, that's really strange, but all good." And so, yeah, messaged back. And then he said, "Hey, are you still making the headpieces, the fascinators, and all of that?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't currently have a workshop, but I have access to spaces where I can make things." And he said, "Oh, we need fascinators for a film that we've got coming up." So he works for Weta Workshop, who did Lord of the Rings
Oh,
and
wow.
Ghost in the Shell and The Hobbits and all of these, incredible films that come out of there. Avatar. And so, yeah, I was like, hell yeah, I can do that. It's another multiple stream of income. I literally just affirmed that on the way home. And here comes another, what's your budget? $500. I'm like, yeah, sweet, I can do that. So, yeah.
Amazing. That's so awesome. You're
Yeah.
an amazing manifester. You're really, I can feel how you just trust, where I
Mm.
notice some people maybe are still working on the trust piece. You know that if you affirm it to yourself and you have the right energy to back it up, that it's going to come in.
And it's refining, I've learnt over the years that it's like, it's not about completely changing it. Like, don't completely change your trajectory. Just refining what you're doing, or changing the wording of how that wording makes you feel and figure out if it's not in alignment, why you're not feeling that it's going to happen, acting as if, feeling as if is the way to bring these things into our, you know, current timeline.
What do you do to change your energy so you have a upbeat energy to call in what you want? Because I know if
Yeah.
we're coming from a negative place, we're just going to call in more of that. So what do you
Mm.
do? Do you sing? Do you go swimming? What do you do?
Yeah, I actually put on my gangster rap playlist and I bounce on my rebounder and I dance.
Okay, now everyone's going to want that playlist. We might have to put it down below.
Hey, because it's like I'm owning it, man. They own who they are. And we think
So
gangster rap is quite negative, and some of the themes are quite negative. But if you think of Tupac, like he's almost like an ascended master now with, along with Bob Marley, that kind of realm. They're kind of like, eking into that ascended master's realm with the wisdom that they talked about, peace, love, and understanding with their messages through their music. So
yeah,
yeah, gangster
music.
rap's how I get that negativity out of my body if I'm feeling it really in there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm with you. I think music's the quickest, fastest way because you can just listen to one song and feel completely transformed by the end, right? I think artists and light workers both have that magical ability to really help somebody through transcendence, essentially. And you really have both, which is so beautiful. You're both an artist and a light worker. And so it's kind of does double duty. And everything you create, I feel is just so beautiful, whether it's the graphics for your courses that are coming out or your own makeup and aesthetic. You even have these incredible tattoos, which I would love to hear more about. Your the beauty that you bring, which is really this kind of priestessing way, isn't it, of the literally the beauty way to bring more beauty to life. And I think you do that so, so well. Will you tell us a little bit about your tattoos? I saw a little flash of them.
yeah. So I'm an air sign and I've always been loved butterflies and moths and this, so that's the death head moth, which was because I liked the movie Silence of the Lambs. But anyway, but that transformation through the death portal and allowing ourselves to kind of be okay with our own mortality, that it's just part of life to transition, out of this physical meat suit or human body or whatever we want to call it, and into the ethers and then back into another one. So all transformation. My niece was calling it a nighttime butterfly. So yeah, I got the little moon in the back. And then the bumblebee is a representation of the sacred feminine, the priestess. So the bumblebee there. The rose for my best friend, when we hold hands, the roses line up. She's got one on her hand too. So
Oh,
the rose path is on there as well, but she also has one. Yeah.
that's
So I've got
amazing.
quite a few. I've got the bat with the
Mm.
castle in the background. And this symbol I created, this sigil, which is surrender. And I had designed it facing a different way, and the person who was tattooing it put it in so it was going that way. And I was like, just surrender. It's not how
Oh,
it's what it means, so just let it go and surrender. But these spirals, so they're spiraling down, so the energy can spiral down and out. So this it actually lines up much better than how I had it.
wow. That was
Yeah, the bat lines up with Persephone. This is Persephone here. So the bat is a sacred symbol of her because they transcend deep down into the caves and they can live in darkness and they can navigate in the darkness with their sensory perceptions, but then they can come out into the light as well. So, yeah, they are a Chinese symbol of good luck as well. So, yes, so I love bats and they're cute. And yeah, just a whole lot of other little bits. I have a caduceus on my back, which goes up to a pentagram. Dragons on my lower back, they're my guardians. So it's a bit of everything.
wow.
So
That
all
is.
symbology.
What did your family think about that when you first started to create this art of the
Mm,
body?
they weren't that pleased, but my friend, best
Oh,
friend at the time was like a tattoo artist and covered in tattoos. So they were like, it's inevitable.
okay. They got it, but they weren't necessarily totally understanding. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Now tell me about your love life. Are you married? Are you dating? What's happening?
Yeah, I am single on with intention. Yeah, single with intention.
Single
So,
content. I love that. And um there's a kind of strange negativity that can be wrapped around being single, right? Which well, I don't think any of us believe in here, but I think societally, if you're single, then people are wondering what's happening, what's going on. So tell us more about that intentional.
yeah, I watched something recently and I don't know if it was Sadhguru or someone, and a woman in the audience was asking him if she was single for such a long time, whether it was karma or her destiny or something. There were two options. And he said, if it's karma, you would have no one asking you out and you would have no options.
Yeah,
If it's your choice, your destiny, I can't remember what the other one was, but the other one was more self-empowered and it was you have people coming to you and asking you out, but and they, but you choose not to. And so that is your choice versus the karma,
right.
which is not your choice. So yeah, it
Okay.
is single by choice, but
So you have people swarming around you, probably waiting. They're like, when is she going to stop wanting to be single?
yeah. And so, yeah, I did. I had two recently, but they just reflected just so I went into my timeline process that I do, and I could just see the trajectory of that, which was of both of them, which was not a positive. It was just repeating old cycles going into either of those. So it was just
Yeah.
like not aligned. So yeah.
Mhm. That makes a lot of sense. One of my best friends at the time was this beautiful Indian woman, and her name's Sydnia, and she was in an arranged marriage, which of course is still fairly normal, which still means you date, but your whole family's involved in it in India. But they had moved here, and she was happily married. They had a lot of respect for each other. They had beautiful kids. And but I remember I was in a difficult relationship at the time with a boyfriend. I wanted to be out of the relationship, and it was just so sticky. But I
Mm,
remember her saying to me, well, can you imagine what your relationship is like in 20 years? Can you imagine being with him in 20 years? And
mm,
my first instinct was like, no, like hell no, like that.
yeah,
It's just, I'm going to be sick if I stay for 20 years. Like, so that was just such a good prompt and question for me at the time because it's easy to get wrapped up in the moment, isn't it? In a series of
mm,
moments. But what is this kind of long-term plan, which is beyond
mm.
ego and desire, really, but maybe create something wonderful into the future? We have that sight, that long-term sight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, definitely. And it's like when we fall in love with someone, it's like not necessarily the love with the other person, that's there too, but we love who we are when we are in love. So it's like, how do we cultivate that in ourselves before the person is even there? So it's, that is kind of the intentional singularity, being single, yeah, of it. It's to kind of like
Yes.
cultivate that separately from anyone else to be removed from that distraction. Um,
Yeah, it's like filling up any gaps we feel within ourselves, because if we expect somebody else to do that, it just puts so much pressure on somebody else. And I don't know if that ever really works in the
yeah,
end, right? It's kind of
totally.
a
Yeah, and
little,
it's like you say, finding all those little gaps, which are like, whether we're in judgment or whether we're in lack or resentment or any of these like lower states that keep us attracting these people that aren't, of the frequency that we want. But yeah, I've started doing a thing. It's only been in the last few weeks, and if I see someone that I find attractive, I'm just like, he could be my husband. And then just like,
oh,
let it go. Just let it go. I don't need to know, I'm not going to go talk to him. One
yeah.
guy was on a motorbike and he was going past us at a cafe, went on a motorbike, it's just really slow, like cool here. And I was like, he could be my husband. And then I just kept eating, forgot about it, like what if? What
I
if
love that.
is like the best what's the best word for it? Like it's a short circuit. Like it
Yeah.
cuts out the negative processing thing. It's like, what if he was my husband and he was completely aligned and he was amazing
Yeah.
and we just like had this amazing life together? What if? But then
Yeah.
let it go and forget about it. That's the key. Yeah. Set it and forget it.
Abraham and Esther Hicks talk about that in Law of Attraction, right? And the
Yes.
different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've just been listening to that again on Audible,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what they say is they call it workshopping. So you're out in
Yes.
the world, then you're like you see the car that you want, and then you see someone's happy and you see this and that and the other and you're like, oh, I'm just workshopping, collecting these ideas almost like a vision board in the moment. And
Mm.
then in your own meditation you can kind of put them pieces together and really see it almost, well, the way I do it, it's almost like seeing a movie happening and really
Mm.
using my imagination for good. And yeah, I love that you're doing that with your future husband. That's so awesome.
Yes, totally. There's heaps of them out there now. There's so many.
What are three qualities? And if you're at home and you're considering a love relationship, doesn't have to be a husband, doesn't have to be a man, but you're considering having new love in your life, I welcome you to consider what is on your list. Do you remember ever doing that when you're a kid and you're like, my love list, my boyfriend will be da 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 da. Da. But I
Yeah.
think it's still important to do that, just like in Practical Magic, where she makes the list and it's
Yes.
two different colored eyes, and he makes cactus shaped pancakes. It really is a kind of a spell to call them in. But I'm curious what's on your list.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. One time I drew a picture of the guy But then I forgot to write the qualities. I just got distracted and I was like, I'll come back to that, but I never did. And it was folded up and it was put away. And I attracted someone who looked pretty much like that, but just had whatever qualities. And it was a completely destructive, really horrible relationship. And then I found that and I was like, oh my God, it looks like him. Then I like wrote so many qualities on every single like tiny bit of that paper. I turned it over and I wrote all of these qualities all over that piece of paper. And I folded it back up and it's somewhere, I don't know where it is. It'll be in one of these rooms and I'll find it one day.
You
So
updated the
yeah,
spell.
I updated it hardcore. So I think like a deep inquisitive mind that is open to all possibilities and all genres of music and movies and thought, processes, and is open to just different religions and just ways of thinking and has a malleable mind. So I think that would be one of the main ones.
Yeah, that's so important.
Tall, dark, and handsome with long hair and a motorbike. Yeah, lots of tattoos. We go.
Ooh, badass. You were a magical badass babe.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Definitely. And a willingness to go into ceremony and workshop himself and to be vulnerable. Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering if I love that vulnerability piece, if spirituality was important to you. I always find this fascinating because I do meet a lot of spiritual women whose partners are not spiritual at all. And I often wonder, how does that work? It's sort of like you would have to keep it a little bit separate. One of my clients she was like that, and her husband actually was started to get more and more religious and involved in this church.
Oh,
And
wow.
she started going more and more the other way. And she had all these oracle decks. She actually opened the door and showed me on Zoom one day, and her whole closet was full of oracle decks. And she was
That's hilarious.
secretly going away to do spiritual retreats, but wouldn't really give the full picture to the family. So it really started going the opposite direction. But I think it's possible to make it work. But I
Yeah.
love that you want to have this real integrated, like mind kind of relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I think if those relationships start early and they're not necessarily as spiritual. Like if I met someone
Right.
20 years ago, I was still with them, and then I developed this spiritual path and they're still just, doing whatever they're doing, then that's different. But I think now if I was to meet someone in this and what I'm doing now, they would need to be in alignment with it because this is what I'm in all of the time. Totally.
Isn't
Yeah.
that beautiful though to make the choice later in life? I'm in the same boat as you. I actually just got engaged.
Yeah, I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Yay. Pretty jewelry. Yay.
much.
Is it a
Yeah,
topaz?
it's a
Yeah.
topaz.
Beautiful. Wow. And that
Yeah.
whisk around it looks a bit like a moon. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so unique. I had no idea. He picked it all out himself. He's a Pilates teacher and he had his Pilates clients were all helping him out and found the local jeweler. And I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I'm just super happy. But we met when I was 35 and I'm now 50. So it was definitely, my values were really clear. I had done same as you that filling the gaps to love myself and very clear about my list. And I knew I needed him to be high level consciousness and spiritual. And I actually even put on my list that he would be a little further ahead of me on the spiritual journey so that there was he could pull me up because I'd always been in these relationships where it felt like a bit of a heavy anchor. Like I was like this eagle trying to fly, but I was anchored down into the earth, kind of dragging people along. And I thought it'd be kind of nice to be a little bit more on the other side of the scale. And that's exactly what had happened. When I met him, he was extremely devoted to a spiritual path, so much so I thought he might just leave and go be a monk. And I often would say that I'm like, don't leave me and go to a monastery. But he's kind of found, I think, a little bit more balance in the earthly plane now. So yeah, to me, the spirituality piece is really important.
It's so important,
Yeah.
definitely. And what you were saying about these two opposing friends with her partner and Christianity and and she's more about the witchy stuff. The interesting thing when you really get into religion and everything is it's literally a full circle. So if you go further enough into Christianity and actually like do your proper research and go then more into like the Gnostic texts and the Bible, it actually is just like magical text if you read it the way that you're supposed to read it. Like, yeah, if you read between the lines, it's all magic in there. So if you go further enough into there, you'll come out the other side into witchcraft and spirituality. In the same way. It's like a big cycle and they all are saying the same thing. So that's funny. So maybe if he goes further enough into it out of rebellion, he'll come out the other side and be like, oh yeah, I see what you're talking about now.
We can hope because, yeah, I think that one of the most important things is family and to
Mm,
hold the vision, that people can really find their way through that union
yeah.
and not just give up, right? Like that's a real commitment.
Mm.
Uh, yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. I wanted to ask you, oh, I know what I want to ask you. What's your definition of magic?
Yeah, magic is I love magic, alchemy, same thing essentially. It is alchemizing and changing your energetic frequency so you're in alignment with what you want to manifest or attract. So, even doing a spell candle or a chant or an incantation or energetic work, guided meditation, plant medicine journeys, everything is raising your vibration so you're more in alignment with what you're wanting to bring into your field and doing the visualizations and the things like that you were talking about, filling in the pieces, noticing where we are projecting onto someone, noticing where we're being judgmental of someone else. So judgment is like, yeah, just the source of all suffering, really. So if we can alchemize our own judgment of other people, and essentially ourself, then we can alchemize and yeah, and be magical, be a magical being. It's the energy that you're really radiating out into the world. And so yeah, I think if we can change our own, yeah, frequency and DNA structure so that we are, yeah, in alignment and bringing in the things that we want. Totally. I heard this term recently and it was we are moving out of being Homo sapiens and those who are on this path and moving into being Homo Sanctus Luminous, which is sacred light humans. So yeah, we are creating our own light body really is what magic is. Yeah.
Ooh, how has magic changed you? If we saw the Nicola 10 years ago and the Nicola today, I know it's your magical practice that
Yeah.
has completely changed you. How would you describe, or if your younger, 10 years younger self looked at you today and said, wow,
Yeah.
Nicola, you're so,
Yeah, you don't care what other people think anymore. Yeah.
is that so that I would say that's confident,
Yeah.
ballsy, unapologetic. Yeah.
Yeah, able to do this, able to speak. Like there's no way I would have done. But I mean, we wouldn't have been able to that time, long ago, being able to comprehend doing a Zoom meeting and what that meant. But yeah, there's no way I would have been able to speak for this long without getting embarrassed or shy or tripping over my words or, you know, anything like that. So yeah.
So if there's anyone watching today that's thinking maybe they've been doing lots of different trainings and research and they want to step forward more as a transformational guide themselves, but there's that it's sort of like standing on a precipice and edge and you're looking over and you're thinking, if I leap, I don't know, like maybe it's just better just to stay here. The view's still pretty good. My life's pretty good. Should I do that? What
Yeah.
what advice do you have?
Yeah, it is follow your bliss, really. It is if you're on that precipice, then that's the beginning of the fool's journey. And so that is, yeah, what if it's there and it keeps nudging at you, then just, yeah, take one step at a time in terms of just following your passion of what interests you, and you can merge all of these different um processes and teachings together. You can overlap gene keys with this and with meditation and with, if you want to learn human design or astrology. And yeah, you can just overlap all of that. Or if you're, passionate about like the darker aspects and the shadow work, I do shadow work and light work. Just follow your passion because it all balances everything out. And the deeper we can go into the shadow work, of if you don't feel like you can jump off that cliff and trust that the universe will catch you, yeah, then doing the shadow work, figuring out what is the resistance? Am I judging myself for wanting to do that? Why am I holding myself back? And having those honest conversations and objective conversations. Don't take yourself too seriously or beat yourself up or berate yourself because you didn't do it sooner. You saw me do that quite a bit through my journey. Was like, oh, I should have done this ages ago, and then but then you're just holding yourself back. But that's the cycle, and that's all the lesson, and yeah. I think in astrology, if you can find, yeah, it's your north node is your direction in life. So if you can look at your chart and know what your north node is, then that is, what your passion and what you're working towards. And then if you can align everything to that, then if that aligns, which it should, speak to your soul.
What's your north node?
I don't actually know mine.
You might need to look
I think it's Leo. I think it's Leo.
that
It's written in my book. I think it's Leo.
up. We can't be experts at everything. I'm definitely not an astrology expert.
Exactly.
But I love
No.
what you said earlier. And then I know you're going to share about your gift too. I want to make sure we've got time for that. But you were talking about you can take from astrology and human design and gene keys. And
Mhm.
I want to be clear about this because what I find with my clients that are creating their sacred businesses is that they get hung up on what is my modality, or I
Mm,
need to be a complete master of one modality.
mm,
But really, we as light workers, it's about holding space, right?
mm,
And
definitely.
because someone could, like, you could be an astrologer and you hold space for another astrologer that has more experience than you.
Mm,
So it's really, these things are amazing, and we're going to be lifelong learners, let's face it. And
definitely.
they're tools in our toolkit just so that you have this beautiful array of tools available to you. So when you go in, hold space for one, two, or a group of people, that you can channel whatever is needed in the moment and meet that person. And often, with what we're meeting that person with, is what we actually need.
Mm,
So it's double duty. This is what I believe the divine is asking us to do. So when we go in, we're actually healing ourselves. They are receiving healing as well. And we're all happier and healthier for it.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
Everything that I've learned about astrology and different things, not everything, but a lot of it has been, yeah, through books and my own self-study. You can self-study so much. You don't have to do a course on things. Just research what you find interesting and take little bits from it. I don't know all of the different human design things. I know what I am, I know what some of my friends are, but I don't know all the intricacies. But just knowing those little parts might help you with someone, it might not help with everyone, but something might come up in someone who's a reflection of you, and then you can speak to that because you've experienced that with yourself, or your friend who you helped with the same thing. So yeah, it's all experiential rather than thinking I need to tick all these things off and say that I have this thing. Totally. Yeah.
What's more important, I believe, is this urgency around light workers stepping up to the plate and getting going,
Mm,
not taking another course, not
mm,
delaying the future, not humming and hawing, not complaining they have a witch wound, none of that. It's about get going.
mm,
And because there's a lot of people suffering, and if you can be a guiding light for somebody through the darkness so that they can rebalance their
mm,
heart, their mind, their spirit, to be finding their own gifts in the world. That is really what I see is needed in the world. So if anyone's watching this and you're thinking, ooh, she's talking to me right now, I am talking to you. And this is your your call to action and get going. Let's do this. Um,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. This is like what I really love that I've started doing recently from something I watched on YouTube. And it's like with every decision we make, and there's lots of decisions throughout the day that we make, and they're easy decisions. But when we come to a decision that has multiple timelines that can ripple off it based on your decision, it's like taking some time to go inwards and then visualize each timeline. If I respond to this in anger, what's that timeline look like? If I respond to this in self-sabotage, what does that timeline look like? And then what is the highest aligned timeline that I can react to this
Hmm.
situation in? And pick that and do that. Even if you want to rage, even if you want to that's your own internal process that you do, but you operate and you project out into the world in the highest timeline that you can visually see. And I had this happen the other day, and I knew the other week my lights are flickering because they're like, yeah, we told you and you didn't do it. I was like, do this, and I didn't do it. I raged a little bit, and then timeline split. And yeah, a couple of days later, I was like, I totally heard about 3 times in my mind what that highest timeline was. Just do this, just do this. And I didn't do it. I acted out of defensive projection. And then that timeline split off. So, it's a refining process constantly. Next time I'm like, you need to speak louder. They're like, we were pretty loud. Like, we know you heard it because we saw you nearly go and do it, and then you didn't.
Yeah,
So,
refinement and that self-forgiveness, and then we move forward, and then we do it better next time. But the problem is, and what breaks my heart is when I see women and my clients not refining and they keep making the same mistake over and over again because it can be so simple, but it does take pause, reflection, contemplation, and what I call self-coaching. And a great time to do it, everybody, is just at the end of the day when you're lying in bed, just reflecting through your day and noticing what did you do really well, what really worked, what was great about the day, and also was there anything you would do differently next time? And then just allowing your brain to adjust to that and that kind of brain integration. So
yeah.
the next time it does arise, then we catch it and we change it. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
so I literally course corrected that timeline yesterday. I went in and spoke to the woman.
good.
So that timeline, instead of going like down there, it's like come back in alignment.
We're back. We're
Yeah,
back.
scared. Yeah, just
And that's why the spiritual journey is not a
yeah, do a bit of a
straight
burnout.
highway through Arizona. You are on a sailboat around New Zealand. I love it. Well, I could talk to you all day, Nick. Nicola and I are old friends, if you can't tell. So we could probably sit here and chat for a while, but I really want you to go and check out Nicola's amazing work. Again, she's this artist and spiritual mentor combined and just has such an open heart and open mind. And I think you're going to love her gift. She's really created something very generous and beautiful for all of you to experience on a real cellular level. Nick, will you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Des. So yeah, talking about like the timeline stuff that I just talked about now, like I'm really passionate about going into these different facets of ourselves and course correcting, pulling out the wisdom. And so I've really cultivated my past life regressions that I offer. And yeah, I did a workshop, a masterclass where I talked through the different steps of the past life regression that I take people through and why we do these different portions of the past life regression. It's not just about going and viewing and being like, oh, cool, I was a pharaoh, da, 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 and then leaving. It's like, how can we go and pull out the wisdom these pearls of wisdom and then clear and alchemize whatever has come through within the resistances, the struggles, like these lower density emotions and vibrations that then permeate through into different lives and different lives until it arrives here in us. And there's still things that rippling into our, into our vibration of where we are now that are residues of these resistances from these past lives. So yeah, I'm offering that. It's in
Thank
nine,
you.
it's over 90 minutes. I think it's close to 2 hours, or it's probably be about 90 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. You can
Amazing.
chat.
And I know it's set to beautiful music. Nicola's voice is very calming. It's experiential, so you can have your earbuds in, you can lie down or be seated. And it's a
Mm,
great thing to have. You could even go through it in the new year too. So everybody, if you have the VIP all access pass, just know that you're getting unlimited access to all the sessions to be able to come back, repeat them time and time again to get to a new layer. Or
mm,
if you're here and you have the free version, please know you just have 24 hours. So I want you to grab the gift right now. All you need to do is click on the button. You're going to put in your name and email, and then it's going to be sent directly to you'll have instant access. So just make sure you click on the button, put in your email, and then you'll be good to go. And you'll be able to follow Nicola on her soul alignment sanctuary. Am I saying that
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Soul
So
alignment sanctuary.
on
Love
everything.
it. Okay, and that is Instagram the best place to find you?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, and I have a YouTube channel as well.
Oh,
So yes,
good.
they're
Okay,
all
well, we will have those links right around here so everybody can go ahead. And with YouTube, for any of our guests, it's always great to go over and subscribe so that you're
yes.
getting that, high vibe content released to you. And when there's a new video out, a new release, and something new to sink your teeth into. So when you go over to Nicola's channel, just hit the subscribe button too.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you sitting down with me and sharing your stories and wisdom today. That was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, we could keep going for hours, like you say.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, lovely. So nice to connect with you again and share on this platform with this light working, alchemizing and everything that we're bringing forward.
Thanks for bringing the energy of spring as we're going to winter. It's kind of it really feels today like a little breath of fresh air coming in from the New
You look
Zealand.
more spring-like in your clothing, and I look more wintry though.
Yeah,
So
we did a little
yeah,
Freaky Friday switch today.
exactly.
That's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
everybody, we will see you next time. Thanks, Nicola Robinson. I hope you'll come back again.
I will. Thank
Bye,
you so
everybody.
much. Bye.